The Dream 3 podcast, episode number 35. We're back at you. We missed the NFL draft. We had UFC 274 this past weekend. We got a lot to cover. Let's get after it. So after taking a week off, we're back at it. Had a lot to cover. Grateful last podcast we had Dujane Bland breaking down the NFL draft beforehand. Neil, obviously the draft was 2 weeks ago. A lot of things played out way different than I think all the experts thought, because we knew that going into this year that the quarterback prospect market was not as strong as it seemed. But for some reason, like the last few weeks, the hype kept getting crazier and crazier. And you had mock drafts even saying that there could be up to, 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Fast forward post draft, you had 1 quarterback selected in the first round.
Yeah. I think the writing was on the wall for Kenny Pickett to go to Pittsburgh the day that he declared for the NFL draft, just because Pittsburgh loves their natives. So I'm not surprised by that one. The other ones, I'm going to be honest, I could care less about. I think they're kind of developmental QBs. Maybe one down the road ends up being a good quarterback. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting for Cards, that's for sure, because the next 2 years, it's going to have to be like this 2020 class is going to have to drive the next 2 years, because there's not going to be a quarterback that's going to be playing worth anything.
Yeah, the only one that actually has an opportunity to start right away is Kenny Pickett. You think of...
And I don't even think he'll start.
You got Desmond Ridder, who's at Tennessee, who's going to sit behind Ryan Tannehill. You have...
Ridder's in Atlanta, isn't he?
Yeah, Ridder's in Atlanta. Malik went to Tennessee, correct?
Yes, Malik.
So, like you said, you have both teams, Atlanta, Tennessee, have their starting quarterbacks on a 2-year deal. So like you said, and unless something bad happens, an injury happens, those guys are going to have to wait for the next 2 years. So, if we're talking about in the card market, the only thing that sells off the rookie teams are quarterbacks. And you only have 1 first rounder, not really a star name guy that everyone's going to go after, kind of like a Trevor Lawrence but like it's going to be a real hard, I wouldn't say sell to the card market, because you're still going to end up paying $1,700 for a hobby box more likely next year.
I'm going to be honest. Like I think Panini sees the draft, and I think they're like, there's no way we could sell hobby boxes for $1,700. It just won't. They'll do that Dutch auction and nothing will sell.
No, you'll get them down to $300-$400 the way they probably should be, because you're right. There's no quarterback market that we could really go into. Yeah. So full the draft, although
honestly, the 2020 class will carry the 21 class, because the 21 class will be trash. I don't even say that, because I don't even see like Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance. I don't know. I'm going to be honest. Hot take here. That might be the biggest draft class of quarterbacks. It could be a bust. And I don't say that because I think that the quarterbacks don't have the talent. But none of the quarterbacks other than Trey Lance were put in a position to be on a team that I think is set up for success. And Trey Lance was the only one, and San Francisco hates him. I mean, they've been all over saying this guy isn't developing. This guy isn't developing. So it's like, I don't know. I'm still looking at Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and all those guys, and Josh Allen. Like, those are going to be your guys.
Yeah,
there's so much talent in the AFC.
There is this year. It's so dominant, and quarterbacks are off the chart. But you got to think of every year. It doesn't matter where the guys are drafted. Hell, even for the Colts when Jacob Eason was drafted, and people are, I'm going to pull a base card and $100 for a base card. And it's just like, for a guy who started 2 plays for the Colts and then ended up getting
he
traded.
threw a pick on the second one to Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah. So it's hard to take stock in quarterbacks, especially rookie quarterbacks that you don't know when to play. I mean, even people did that to Patrick Mahomes. Unless you really, it's like prospecting for baseball. You're hoping. You're really hoping.
And that's just something where it's like, and I'm seeing like 20. I'm seeing these National Treasures boxes going for $5,000 a box, and Zach Wilson RPAs are doing $30,000. It's like, do you realize you could take that $30,000 and buy yourself a Tom Brady like rookie autograph, like Contenders rookie auto, for the same price? And that box, you could buy yourself a Tom Brady rookie for the price of a box.
The market is just wild, especially.
There's so much hype in like prospecting right now. It's almost like the GOATs, unless it's like Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, LeBron James. Well, I can't even say LeBron James because LeBron is just plummeting. But like Michael Jordan and Tom Brady, if it's not those two guys, it's modern players, and nobody wants anything to do with anybody else.
That's part of the market that I just don't understand. Like, a couple years ago, you could get National Treasure RPAs for, a couple $100. Maybe if it was somebody super, super great, a couple $1,000. But $33,000 for a guy who, how many games did the Jets win this year?
I want to say 5, 3, something like that, 4.
So it's not, but like you said, it's prospecting. It's kind of like when Brady was going to get ready to move on, and everyone put their stock in like Jared Stidham, or you put your stock in Garoppolo, or you put your stock in, all these Osweiler, all these quarterbacks that, never panned out. That
it's turned into gambling. That's what it is.
That's basically 100% of what it is.
Yeah. Instead of, I don't know. To me, it doesn't make sense. I mean, like the $1,000 challenge, it's hard because like you really have to prospect and see the future and see like potential plays. But like, me, I don't buy anything unless it's like proven Hall of Fame, the greatest players of all time.
Yeah. Prospecting's too hard. Like we said, it's too much of a gamble. Like, unless you're on your P's and Q's, it's like people putting a bunch of stock into Jason Dominguez or all the other baseball prospects that you hope to pan out that might not see the majors for 4 or 5 years. Like, that's a long hold in hope that, injuries or something stupid doesn't happen. Like, I don't
understand.
I can't do that. Like, I'm taking the tried and true GOAT status, kind of like you said.
Yeah, agreed. I will say though, from the draft, the lower echelon teams really made an impact to try and better their team. So like the Jets, I don't think they could have drafted better.
Oh, they had the
Ravens.
The Jets had a great draft, especially when that Florida State kid fell to them.
The Eagles had a really great draft. Getting A.J. Brown, getting yourself a nice D tackle, building on that team for Jalen Hurts. I mean, Detroit even did well. I mean, they picked up a top-tier wide receiver. They picked up the best defensive end in the draft. I thought that was good. Maybe it makes football a little more competitive this year.
Did you feel like the first round was overhyped this year?
Yeah, I mean, from a pure talent standpoint, last year's draft was the last 3 drafts have been light years ahead of this draft class.
Yeah,
I think the wide receiving pool was probably the best pool of the bunch, but even then, they don't compare to Devontae Smith, Jaden Waddle, Jamar Chase. Yeah, and then the year before, they don't compare to Justin Jefferson and all these other guys.
There was no, I would say, clear-cut
CeeDee Lamb.
superstar of the bunch. Like,
yeah, agreed.
Did anybody really expect the Georgia kid until the last week started getting all the hype to jump up to the number one pick?
Yeah.
Like, for months, and even at the beginning of last year, Thibodeau was set to be the number one pick. But then after that, you didn't really hear anybody until the end of the year.
So there's been guys who I've looked at, like, just watching college football and just watching, Senior Bowl stuff, just watching videos and trying to understand, who's going to be potential just good players, not from the aspect of cards, just for the aspect of loving football. And the two guys that I liked were Kyle Hamilton for the Ravens, 6'4", weighs like 220, runs. He didn't have a great combine, but like if you watch his tape, I mean, he's one of the best safeties there's been in a long, long time. And then the other guy was Trevor Penning, who the Saints drafted. Big physical offensive tackle, plays left tackle. He's going to fill in for Terron Armstead. But I think his Senior Bowl, like if you watch his Senior Bowl highlights, some of those practice videos, I mean, he was straight just manhandling people, but like just dogging kids. It was like children. But those are the two guys who stood out to me as like who I think could be all pro type players in this out of this draft. But those are guys. Those aren't skill positions. They're not. Nobody is going to care about them in cards. But for me, watching those guys, I think those guys are pretty talented.
No, there was I think one of the most underrated guys that fell to the third round was David Bell. David Bell, the wide receiver, like. Even though he runs 4.6 without pads, like he plays faster than a 4.6 speed, and single-handedly beat Ohio State and Iowa by himself.
Antonio Brown ran 4.6.
Jerry Rice ran 4.7.
Like,
for that kid to drop to the third round is an absolute steal for the Browns. Absolute steal.
His tape looks really good.
Yeah,
he's taking. I mean, he's a good player. He's a
multifaceted guy. Now another Purdue guy, and I'm just saying that because he's local. So the
Arlafatis.
No, the guy who went to the Chiefs first round.
Yeah, that's George.
George, yeah. Whatever, however you pronounce it.
Yeah, Carla.
Did he sit out? Did he sit out this season?
I think you're right on that. He might have.
Because I watched a couple Purdue games, obviously because they're semi-local. I didn't.
It doesn't say he did, but he could have.
I didn't see much of a standout to be a first round pick, but obviously I didn't get to watch a ton of film. Plus, I didn't get to watch a ton of the draft except for the first round because we were down in Charlotte for the race that weekend. So that was kind of tough. I got to watch a little bit of the first round while we were at dinner and didn't really get to see the other 2 days. So catching back up, and I'm basically following it through my phone, but didn't really get to sit down and truly understand. Kind of just followed the Colts picks and see what they tried and picked up, and they seem to got some guys that they like, and we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
The guy you were talking about, name me the last Purdue edge rusher who went pretty high in the draft.
The last Purdue edge rusher that went high in the draft. What? Can you give me a year?
No, I don't know the year. I'll give you the team.
Yeah.
He got drafted by the Redskins, the old Redskins.
Ryan Kerrigan?
Yeah. So Purdue doesn't usually put out edge rushers, but you got to think if one goes in the first round, he's probably got the talent just because they don't come from Purdue very often. And if they do, they're usually pretty talented guys.
You know who Ryan Kerrigan's sister's married to?
I do not, but Ryan Kerrigan's sister did go to my college. She played volleyball there.
She's married to the best football player in Brownsburg history.
Who would that be?
Jamie Comer.
Oh, jeez. Oh, God. Now it makes sense.
Yes,
Now it makes sense.
yes. And that's why Ryan's
Is
career...
is that alleged greatest football player of all time? Or
It's depending on who you ask.
all right. Let's move on. UFC. What was it? 276? Is that what it was? 286?
274.
476. 700. What number are we on?
Who cares? All I'm telling
Okay. Anyways,
is
Olivera.
missing weight.
So we talked about this
Yes.
a little bit in our group chat. That is like the one thing you have to do. Like if you have a job, right?
The only thing you have to do.
That's like showing up on time. You just show up on time, and that's all you got to do. You come in there, you make weight. That's it. You make weight. That's how you get paid. You make weight. And you don't make weight.
I have a really hard time, and I saw some other guys tweet about it. I have a really hard time believing that the hotel scale was on and the commission scale was off. Even if so, Charles had an hour. He wasn't sucked out.
What was he at? What was he at the first time he weighed?
155 and a half.
And then he couldn't lose a half a pound in an hour?
Couldn't lose a half a pound.
Dude, just go shave your hair and do something.
So DC talk. Well, I was listening to DC talk about that. That will get you not a half a pound. There's a couple. So let's say you're not sucked out, completely dry. One thing you could do, and they had a good point that, he doesn't have time to go to the gym and back. Like he's only got an hour before he weighs in again. I would find, this is me as a coach, I would find a bag of Starburst, a bag of sour Skittles, and have my guy just start chewing on them and start spitting out all the contents. Like get that saliva built up in your mouth. I used to do that when we were cutting weight for fights, like the last 2 pounds. Do that in 20, 30 minutes. Just start chewing on things and spitting it out over and over and over.
Yeah, that's not – I've heard of that. My wrestlers at the school that I work at, they do the same thing. They don't do Skittles, but they'll chew on like ice or something like that.
Yeah,
and then
something that'll make your mouth water or something like that. But to lose your belt, to be stripped because you can't make weight. The first time it's ever happened, it's happened like 3 or 4 times for the challenger, but not for the champion. And automatically I thought, Charles is mentally unprepared for this. Gaethje's going to go in and wipe the floor with him. And boy, Justin Gaethje is exactly who we thought he was. He is a
Didn't I tell you he's going to choke it away?
Dude,
oh my God.
He chokes at the highest level of all fights, and kind of like I think TJ or Dominic Cruz said it, he will set himself on fire to burn somebody a little bit. And he had Charles rocked multiple times. And what does he do? He runs right in with his hands down and starts throwing hammers and gets clipped.
Yep.
Hey. Garbage.
Hey, you know what? I told you guys, Justin choke it away like he always does.
I don't know what I'm going to do with that Gaethje rookie refractor that I just got back from SGC now. Sell it for $20.
Well, that's probably, I'm going to be honest, that's probably his last title shot.
It has to be. Like he's
gotten what, 2 or 3 now?
2. You look at every
I can't imagine that division's stacked enough that I can't imagine he gets another shot.
He's also a type of fighter. His career can't last forever. The type of wars he puts himself in.
Yeah.
The fight with Chandler, the fight with Olivera, just sit there and trade hammers. Like you're not going to last forever. And speaking of trading hammers, so how about Michael Chandler blasting Tony Ferguson in the face with that foot?
I think the craziest part about that is, and I know Tony has a chin to take everything. Mm-hmm. So that kick had to literally just be perfect to be able to knock him straight out cold.
And that's kind of what Chandler said today on Pat McAfee's show. Like it was just perfect timing of the angle of the foot of the whole thing. And kind of Tony walked into it because looking in the first round, man, Tony had Chandler hurt, had him cut wide open.
Yep.
Was doing work, was completely in that fight. Very start of the second round, just got caught. That's kind of how it happens. Definitely part of it, but Michael Chandler's a beast. Would definitely like to see what's going to happen next, because that division is a cluster. Because now you have a number one contender, which is
who's all in that division. I'm going to look this up.
You have Olivera, who's the number one contender to his own title that he lost on the stand. You have Chandler.
So it's got to be Chandler Olivera, right? Next one.
But you could also, everyone's calling out Conor McGregor.
Oh, yeah.
Because you got McGregor to come back.
I have seen some memes that are like, this sets up perfectly for Conor McGregor to come back and just win back the title.
It does. I mean, there's so many different fights. I mean, you have Dariush and Islam. You have, like, Dana has no idea what's going to happen. There's just too many variables and too many situations. I mean, it's great to have problems like that, I guess, but
you have Islam there too.
Yeah, and he's supposed to fight Dariush next, but Dana's now thinking of taking Islam and putting him against Olivera. So would you put Dariush against Michael Chandler, and where does Conor fit into this?
I feel like Michael beating Tony Ferguson at least gets him a bump. I say it's Michael Chandler versus Islam. Winner gets Charles.
I mean, I would love to watch that fight. I think, but I really, really, really want to see that Dariush Islam fight. I think that's a great fight. And if it gets pulled apart, I'm gonna be gutted. Tough. Gonna be gutted, dude. There's
is Glover Teixeira really Is he really the champion at light heavy right now?
Yes, he is.
God bless it. That division is a trash compared to what it was.
It is. It is. There's a.
If John Jones could lay off the coke, he'd be like a 20-year champion.
He would. Did you watch the Rose fight? I didn't even pay attention to it, and I'm glad.
I'm gonna be honest. I fell asleep during that one because I didn't want to see it. Because honestly, I thought Rose would win that one, and I was.
When there's a total of 6 punches thrown in a round, so in all honesty, I'm sitting here in my chair watching it with Wesley, and we both fell asleep at the walkout. Tony Ferguson's walking out, and I fell asleep and woke up as Rose was walking out. So I missed the knockout. I had to go through Twitter and find it, and then kind of just didn't watch the Rose fight. And I'm glad I did not.
Did you watch the highlights?
I did. Yeah. What a
lights.
One of the worst fights of all time.
See, Rose is so good against like top level talent, and then she throws out basically just a dud against.
A couple reasons. One, she's got the same coach as Justin Gaethje and Trevor Whitman. And two, Pat Barry, who's her fiance, is also a coach. And Pat Barry's crazy / not a great coach.
It's sad. She shouldn't have lost that one.
No, and to say that you won, like, please stop that. So it's something like that when nobody's engaging and they're just like moving around. I almost feel like there should be a Pride style penalty system where if you get a yellow card, you lose 10% of your purse. If you get a red card, I forgot what the purse penalty was, but then you get a point deduction. Like, engage, like, do something. Like,
here's the problem. Pride, you could probably do that, but you can't do that in the UFC because those guys don't get paid enough to begin with. Because Dana White doesn't want to hand out money.
They didn't get paid. They didn't get paid in Pride either.
Yeah, but I mean, they're at least money overseas is a little better than money inside the United States.
Well, Pride was run by the Yakuza, and
mob money.
The story's like they tried to get Bob Sapp to fight without a contract, and Bob was like, "No, I want to sign the contract before I go fight." and they wouldn't give it to him. So he's the main event of the night's fight, and he just walked out because they wouldn't sign anything. So
nutty.
I don't know. Let's be honest. If you're not going to, if you want to talk about fighter pay, they can bitch and moan all they want about fighter pay, but it is what it is. If you want to get paid, negotiate better. You're not what you're worth. You get paid not what you're worth, what you can negotiate. So don't blame it on Dana. Blame it on your agent or blame it on yourself for negotiating what you negotiate. If you feel like if you find a better deal, take that. That's the easiest thing to say. Plus, have your agent take that outside money. You should never go into a fight, and I can think about this just like the race car. If I go into a race and plan on using the winner money by round to pay my team, pay for the car parts, if my first round winnings is $10,000, but it costs me $80,000 in the weekend, why would I use that as a business model? The idea is to get your sponsorship or do your outside appearances or whatever where the money is made, so I can have everything taken care of going into my competition, and the money I get on top is just a bonus. That's how you should set up your business model as a fighter or as anything else.
Well, see right there, that's exactly why you are sitting in your seat, and while these other people just aren't making money.
But they all have agents, which I don't get.
Yeah, they're just stupid. I was listening to a podcast. I'm sure you follow Sports Card Nonsense and Mike Gio.
Yep.
They had on Ariel Helwani on there last week, and Ariel brought up a good point. He said UFC is still in its toddler stage. It's not mature. It's not a child. It's not a mature sport yet. It's not a mature card market. So the agents you're getting aren't exactly the best at negotiating these things, and they don't understand what you're presenting as a business model to make money, which is sad. But this is how I want to tie it to cards. So we know some avid UFC collectors. We follow the UFC chat. Everybody collects on there. If Ariel Helwani, who's probably the biggest spokesperson for UFC, if he thinks the UFC is still in its toddler stage as a sport, then you have to assume that the card market for UFC is very much in its infancy, right? Mm-hmm. So in that case, in a new sport like that, people are going to flock to all the modern, ultra-modern prospect, Islam,
whoever's hot right now.
Chimaev, whoever's hot. Which makes me think, as the sport matures, as the card market will eventually mature down the road, then you're talking about, okay, who really were the best fighters of all time? And that's John Jones, Anderson Silva, Daniel Cormier.
If you're thinking that way and you're trying to not prospect, but if you're trying to catch goats for 20
pennies,
20 years down the line, that's if you're thinking that way, you're thinking 20 plus years.
Probably, which is sad, because I wish it would mature a little more, because there is a lot of disrespect towards Anderson Silva, GSP, John Jones, and those Hall of Fame type guys. A lot of disrespect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you can get their cards for pennies on the dollar.
Even like Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse. He's forgotten about.
Yes, but no one really gave two cares about the little guy division for a long time.
True. But it's I don't know. I feel like it's an underappreciated market, and if you collect UFC, maybe you should enjoy. If you enjoy collecting, collect those guys.
So I definitely agree with you. It's just,
and then if you want to prospect,
the UFC market, how I see it is, if you have a card, your margin of sell period is only when that fighter
It's like the
is
week
fighting.
of the fight.
So, perfect example, that Jared Cannonier card that I had.
Yeah.
That's been sitting on my desk in my office since 2018. And Jared Cannonier finally is going to fight for a title. That card means nothing to me. And guess what? Everybody wanted Jared Cannonier cards, even though he's going to get smoked by Izzy.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted Jared Cannonier cards. So if you're waiting where he's not fighting, or let's say the Justin Gaethje, if he comes off a knockout loss, it ain't worth nothing. So you got to go back to those GOAT statuses, the guys who have already retired or getting
it's kind of like it's gambling. Is what we talked about before.
Yeah.
And not to mention these people, these casuals who are UFC fans and collecting these UFC cards, they have this thing ass backwards. Like you should the amount of disrespect they give to all these GOATs and the amount of money they will pump into these prospects is ridiculous. And they have no respect for any of the sport pre Habib and Conor McGregor.
So my biggest thing is pre Conor. I can't find anybody that watched the UFC before Conor got in. Like
I know it's sad.
I mean, you and me were watching cards every weekend since like UFC probably.
I should have probably a 10% stake in B-dubs for how many times I went over there and had wings and burgers and
we were there till
finish it off with a chocolate cake.
Yeah. So I mean, people are just getting into it. One, because it's popular. The sports card guys, because it's another niche market to pick
they can
at.
Pump and dump it
for sure.
Oh my god!
But still, like it's not getting its respect. Remember, I sent it to Squints, and you were on it too. That GSP 101 that only went for like $1,500 on Golden. Like the disrespect there.
Yeah,
but you got Zach Wilson National Treasures going for $33,000.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm so sick that Cowboy got food poisoning. That's why.
Cowboy. Everybody loves Cowboy.
That would have been a great fight for 2009. So I'm kind of glad that it didn't happen, but it sucks that he got food poisoning. Still a good card, top to bottom. Canelo Alvarez had a boxing match, lost.
He got beat.
But so, yes, he got beat. He also moved up to light. He moved up to light heavyweight.
Yeah, I mean,
Canelo started his career at 142 pounds.
Hey, Caleb, before too long, you're gonna be hearing Conor McGregor walking around at 220. So it's only a matter of time.
He walks at almost 200.
Yeah, I know. He's massive now.
He said he's not going to 55 again. So,
yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's going to happen as you get older. It's harder.
Trimbolone sandwiches, bro.
Yep,
Trimbolone and
all right.
D-ball.
Let's move on. NBA, NHL playoffs are starting.
I'm down with the NHL playoffs. I can't force myself to watch the NBA playoffs. I don't know what it is with basketball this year. Just basketball is so trashy to me this year. I don't know why.
The only thing that I appreciate is, first off, the Celtics just smoked Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, Brooklyn, bunch of duds. Terrible. Like after Harden,
Kevin Durant doesn't deserve to be in the conversation right now of a top 15 to 25 basketball player.
Just because you got a ring because you were on a super team doesn't make you a great player.
Yeah, that's the only reason why he's rings, because he can't win it with him being the focal point.
No,
it's sad. Anyways, the Bucks and the Celtics, really good series. I enjoy that series. The Memphis Grizzlies Golden State series, that's a really good series.
So I heard Jaws doing pretty well, but he did get hurt. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I didn't see the last part of that game. It looked like some people call it a dirty play. It's probably just it's Memphis Grizzlies fandom saying, "Oh, dirty."
Of course,
it's stupid. It's just people being dumb. But yeah, I've heard he's not playing Game 4. If he doesn't play Game 4, 3-1 series, Golden State's going to win that series in probably 6 games. At worst, probably 5 games. Celtics, Bucks. Bucks look really good. Celtics look good any given night.
So
it's going to be a war.
Golden State, Milwaukee. Is that going to be the finals?
Is that what I call Golden State, Milwaukee? Is that what I said?
I'd have to go back and look.
I
Maybe
thought that's what I call. I think it still goes that way.
I think Golden State.
Two best teams.
I'm pretty sure Golden State's going to end up winning.
Yeah, Jordan Poole is becoming a star.
Boy, I am so glad I kept them Jordan Poole cards.
I sold those last year when he went in. I think it was like the play-in game. He went off or something like that for like 30 points. I was like, yeah. So
I had a stack of those sitting around.
Yep, sold those too early. That's for sure.
Gone.
NHL playoffs.
Playoffs. You know, I can get down with the NHL playoffs.
There's been a lot of goals too, which makes for exciting because usually in the NHL playoffs you really don't get much.
Not just a lot of goals, but man, has there been some. There's been a lot of heavy hits, like
fights.
You know, playoff hockey is a different level of hockey.
Oh yeah, it gets chippy. There's fights. Usually, you don't see fights in the regular season. There'll be fights in the playoffs. People start getting heavy with the hits.
It's a violent gentleman's game, and
missing teeth.
The Penguins got thrashed.
Yes,
thrashed, bud. Toronto Maple Leafs look good.
Well, they did that, and then you know what happened last night? 5-0. They went down 5-0 to the Lightning in the first period and a half.
Lightning have been good last couple seasons.
Well, yeah, I mean they're the back-to-back Stanley Cup champion.
Of course,
but
it's
NHL's been good. NBA's been good. It's been a good time as far as that goes. Baseball, I can't stand to watch baseball. I don't really care about baseball.
Baseball's screwing themselves over.
I'm not really sure why I bought anything for my $1,000. I sold that thing off. I was like, I can't stand Bo Bichette right now. I'm
finding myself, and I'm gonna guess it's probably because of the card market. I find myself watching the Premier League on Saturdays and Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not a huge soccer watch guy, but man, I find myself. I was watching Man City and who played this past weekend? It was Man City and somebody else City. I'm watching the games, man.
I have not been as adamant in watching soccer, but I have watched a lot of F1. I have no skins in the game in F1. I do not own a single F1 card, but I enjoy the sport, and I enjoy watching some people. I watch good racing. But man, like, is it me or did Lewis Hamilton just like give up this year?
He gave up because his car is trash. And that's going to happen because, you know, everything that changed with, you know, the new car, you have to build your own car and your own specs and all this and that. Like, their combination's just wrong and it's trash. And it's not Lewis's fault, but there's no way he can win the drivers' championship. So might as well, you know, call it a season. He's getting paid, you know, whatever he's getting paid, $45 million, whatever. So sit back, drive your car, don't get hurt. Who cares? Let Ferrari and Red Bull battle it out and just try to beat George Russell every race. One thing I'm seeing, and shift this to the card market, man, there's a lot of nut riders out of nowhere jumping on the F1 train. Like,
there's a ton.
Like, just because Netflix pumps out a series, now you're all excited about F1?
$900,000 for a Lewis Hamilton 1-of-1. That's not even his rookie. $900,000. What are we doing with ourselves? Like, it's just that okay, I get it. Inaugural season or inaugural Topps Chrome 1-of-1 gold vinyl, but like $900,000.
It's ridiculous.
The person who's buying that for $900,000 doesn't really care about money. Let's be honest.
So
it's probably Lewis himself. So
F1's a whole different breed, as you can see from this past weekend in Miami, the boats in the fake ocean, the whole Miami. If you've never been to an F1 race, so I was lucky enough that when it was in Indianapolis, I got to go to the F1 race. And it's a different world, especially for somebody being in the racing. I know Josh has talked about this too. It's not niche. It's really hard to explain, but you literally have the world minus America. Now you have a little bit more American influence. So technically, it is probably the most popular and watched sport in the world besides soccer.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. A lot of people pay attention to it overseas.
A lot of it. It's bigger than anything else. And it's Formula One. Like,
yeah,
the history of but I just don't get the American hype train where it's not like this is the first time Formula One's been in America besides the Austin races. Like, it was in Indianapolis. People forget that Formula One hated America, hated the Indianapolis 500, tried to get them to pave over the bricks because it upset the cars when they crossed the bricks. Like,
yeah, they were a bunch. They thought we were a bunch of hillbillies, and now
there's a and just because there's a documentary, it's like all of a sudden everybody loves F1.
Yeah. No,
and it makes no sense.
We grew up watching IndyCar because we have the 500 in Indianapolis. I watched it because my dad worked for a race team for 20 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
We would watch F1 on Sundays, F1 on Saturday, or F1 on Sundays if we didn't have a race on Saturday or Sunday. So from that aspect, like, it's always been something that we watched, at least in my house. But now it's like you got Tom Brady showing up, you got Patrick Mahomes, Card Collector 2 show video, Patrick Mahomes, and everybody's there now. Like, it's almost like a prestige thing to go and watch an F1 race.
It's the Kentucky Derby with motorized cars.
Yes.
Like you said, it's a prestige thing. It's not that anybody actually understands what's going on. They just want to be there to be seen.
Yeah. It's an image thing.
Whatever you want. I mean, especially with them going to Vegas next year. Or is it this year or is it next year? It's next year.
No, Vegas is this year.
Okay. Because I know they just purchased 39 acres right off the strip for $240 million. So they can put the paddock there.
Is it this? Now I'm second guessing myself.
I think it's 23.
It's coming to Vegas. And
it's
that
coming
would be
to Vegas.
A riot.
And it's going to be a night race.
That's going to be ludicrous.
It's going to be in October, so it's going to be semi-cold because we'll race there. They race 2 weeks after we leave. So we race Halloween weekend in Vegas, and they'll race 2 weeks later. So it'd be the second week of November.
Does it get warm during the day still?
Kind of. Like, it'll be mid-60s, but Vegas is windy because of the mountains.
Interesting.
So, and especially being on the strip, that's going to be a weird dynamic because you're going to have all these lights. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
It'd be like playing on Rainbow Road in Mario Kart. That's what you're playing on. Exactly, that's what you're racing on. 100%. It's Rainbow Road.
100%.
All right. Triple logo, man. The worst people in the entire hobby pulled it. How do you feel about that?
I hate it.
Here's what I hope. I hope they don't take it for themselves and charge back the people who bought into the break and actually won it.
So didn't Whatnot have a bounty out for that, and they were giving up a Lamborghini?
I think it's the sellers. So the people who I think were doing the break, they get the Lamborghini, and the people who win it, obviously whatever they sell for, they're going to get the
I would keep I'd keep the car over the Lamborghini because the insurance and the upkeep of the Lamborghini is going to be way more than the card. Yeah,
Yeah.
the worst people in the world pulled it. The trash of the community. I hate those. I hate guys like that. They're a black spot on in the hobby.
Yeah.
They're in it for the wrong reasons. They're in it to make money. They're in it to flip stuff. They're in it to make it into a TikTok show. They don't really care about collecting. They care about getting the flip, making the next money to keep going. So yeah, not a huge fan of theirs.
It's all about them. It's never about the hobby. Sadly, that's what it is.
So to my thought, some of the top breakers in the world, do you believe their cases get loaded, or do you think that
I think they do
knows?
I think they do a good majority of the time. The other caveat to that is they get so much product more than anybody else that
They're breaking so much that
they're breaking so much that they hit more. So I think it's one and probably the same. I'm sure there's you know how the world works. I'm sure there's dirty stuff going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, when let's say there's 500 cases available and Leighton Cards gets 300 of them, you're bound to hit something.
Yeah, exactly. I do think it's quite interesting that this whole whatnot thing came about and all these breakers were in on, ripping a case of Flawless, and the winner gets a Lamborghini on this specific night. So it's kind of like it all culminated in a very good, let's say, card promotional type weekend.
Yeah.
So from that aspect, very ironic that everything worked out the way it did. But congrats to the people who won it. I'm sure their lives are changed forever. I'm sure Shine's life is going to be pretty well. Shine's happy because he finally gets his card.
Yeah.
If Drake doesn't buy it from him.
I do hope that when Fanatics takes over, that the allocation process kind of switches up, or not switches up, but kind of gives it a more playing field. I feel that, normal people or smaller places don't have the same opportunity as, a company that pushes $10 million worth of product like Steel City or Leighton, or even Leparo's doing, $3 million a year.
Yeah.
But, hopefully we can even it out somehow and kind of see where the market goes. It's like when we talked about, Football Prism comes out and hobby boxes are $1,700. There's no way you can stand on that price for a long time, because now you're cutting out the normal everyday people that want the product. And even the retail products, which that market is basically dead from everybody trying to resale, and the prices have doubled on the products.
Yeah. It's so what I've come to realize is, like, when hobby boxes are affordable, you have people who buy hobby boxes, right? Like, people will buy boxes, they'll split it, they'll, go to their shops more often. The breakers now are the ones who really control the business, and that's why prices are probably still as high as they are, because people can buy a spot and get the cards they want or get the people they want, and they don't have to spend, $2,000 on a hobby box. They can spend, $100 on the hobby box, randomly get a team. They still maybe get some cards out of it, but, they get Jacksonville and maybe they hit something out of it. So it's like you're less money in to the product and you still get to break a box or a case or whatever. So from that aspect, I see why. I see why they do that.
Yeah.
Still, though, breakers run the hobby right now, and until that changes, I don't see any reason why the prices will drop.
Yeah.
Until you get a sucky class like we will next year, because 2022 football is going to suck.
Still go out and support your local LCS. Always do that.
Yes. True.
Always.
True.
Always.
All right, what's coming up? What do we got coming up?
I got an SGC order coming back that's all soccer. Dude, I don't know why. I am just balls deep in some soccer right now. Like
you are.
Me and Josh are
quite
heavy soccer into soccer right now, boy.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm looking for football and basketball right now. I'm like, I know it sounds stupid, but like a part of this whole challenge thing, like I'm looking to the next year. I'm looking to I'm looking to the fall. Football. Josh Allen's gonna be one of the hottest tickets on the market. Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. It's kind of like
this is definitely
good time to buy.
Good time to buy in football. I'm going to stay away from basketball probably for a long time. After the 1920 craze, I could care less about basketball, and I can see how the market dips, especially with, even though there's a small number of guys on the team, man, if you guess wrong or that guy becomes a nobody, those cards fall off quick. So
yeah,
sticking to where I know and football, and we've talked about this in the past, that football might overtake basketball.
I think it is.
It's got that trajectory that
it is.
Man,
people say baseball is going to take over and like be the next big explosion in the markets. Like
no, we've talked about that. There's just too much.
Too many games and not enough eyes, and the people watching baseball, like nobody wants to watch baseball. The only thing they're checking ever is the box score.
And there's so many different products the good products that people want, flawless, immaculate, they're non-licensed. So half the public,
the people collecting baseball are the guys who have always been collecting baseball,
and they're going to collect the Bowman Chromes, the tops.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Even though flawless is a great product, like if you enjoy, like I love these cards. Like flawless baseball has great
they have good
patches and stuff.
Yeah.
But they're unlicensed. So Bobby Abreu doesn't have a Phillies logo. Nomar Garcia Parra doesn't have an Expos logo. Like it's a tough sell for a great product, and they don't get the respect. People still hang on the steroid era, like Mark McGwire 101s. I remember I had a Mark McGwire 101 that I bought for less than $100.
Yeah.
And
like Justin Squints he's been buying up Barry Bonds, and we've been talking a lot about it. Barry Bonds is an underrated baseball player. He was a part of the whole steroid era, but at the same time, statistically, he's one of the greatest hitters of all time.
Steroids don't make you have hand-eye coordination.
Say what?
Yeah, I said steroids don't help you with hand-eye coordination. You still got to hit it.
Not necessarily, but there's other things. There's other performance-enhancing drugs that can help with focus and
Adderall.
Building a hand-eye coordination, dexterity, all those things. So it's a part of the whole PED era, not just steroids.
Juice them. You want to make a pitch clock? I want my.
But everybody.
I want my players.
I'm 100%. I want to see people throw 120 and literally their arm like rips off their body. That'd be cool.
You want to be the greatest.
And I want to see a guy hit a ball so hard it goes through someone's face. Like
yes,
I'm down.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't get me wrong, steroids are great because it just makes things so much more entertaining. But at the same time, like Barry Bonds probably should get a little more respect than what he does.
I'll tell you one thing that I do with baseball is like I'll find one guy who I like and I'll collect or buy his stuff. And there's too many. I'm not going to get the Trouts. I'm not going to get this and that. My guy is Luis Robert from the White Sox. A proven. He's still a younger guy, but's been in the majors for a couple years. Because I can't do the prospecting thing. Like I just don't like
There's
it.
so much.
Like you get lucky on a Bobby Witt Jr., you crash on a Galvin Lux, and then you're like 50-50 on a Luis Robert who's been hurt twice.
Yep.
So it's tough. It's baseball. How do you get hurt? It's amazing.
I am convinced baseball, they're the softest of all athletes.
Yeah, understandable. I'm trying to think what else is up. My buying is I'm still looking. I'm doing a lot of heavy game use patch autos, and
Yep,
sometimes.
actually, I just got this back finally.
Did you? Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it's I had to sell it to Jared to when I bought the when I bought the contenders, the Brady contenders.
Yep.
But I was like, oh, that's my favorite card, and I really missed it. So I ended up selling my Randy Moss my Jumpman, and then I just bought that back. So I was like,
So
I just don't want to get it in hands.
On your collection,
yeah,
is your collection kind of whittled down, or do you still have a good amount that you could, buy, sell, trade with?
Right now it's whittled down to what I truly like. It's truly my collection. So like, what's in it is
less than 20 cards.
Oh, it's like 5 now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean I sold off I think 17 cards total over like 17 to 20 cards total over the last like three or 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
Basically to buy the Brady ticket. And then so my collection of game used cards comes down to the top Super Bowl auto that I have. That's game used. That's a game used from the Super Bowl patch auto of Brady. And then I have the Jim Brown, and then I have my defensive goats, Ray Lewis, Ronnie Lott, and Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to try and get Dick Butkus, Deacon Jones, Reggie White. Those are my next.
Yeah. I'm building up. So I'm building back up on my game used stuff after selling off a bunch of it at the end of last year. Me and Josh are going to start doing the Kokomo card show. So we're going to set up as a seller and start.
That'll be fun.
Trying to get out there. I've never set up at a show before, but I think, we got enough product. I have a lot of football, baseball, basketball.
You guys might want to change your accents to like English maybe a little bit. And
he can. The good thing with him is he knows soccer inside and out, and I know everything else. So
you just sit there and say, "Yep,
for sure."
Yep, Josh knows.
Cash.
I take euros and I take American dollars.
Very true.
I defer to Josh.
Did you see? Speaking of one of our sponsors, My Slabs, did you see they're running commercials at the Brewer Stadium? Good for those guys.
That is fantastic. I did not know that, but that is fantastic.
They're spending some money. I need to get a hold of that.
Here's my issue with eBay. eBay now it's like $2,500 now. Every raw card over $2,500 now is going through that authenticity guarantee. They need to do away with that, or they do an opt into it. You opt into the authenticity guarantee.
People's cards are getting wrecked.
Yes, they're getting ruined by eBay. eBay's not guaranteeing them because they're not what they say they are, and they're getting them shipped back. There's been a lot of issues with that. My Slabs this is an opportunity for My Slabs to just take over the market because eBay is just they're being stupid. They're being retarded with it.
I need to reach out to them because obviously I have a national platform with the race car and see what I can do. So I've done it with some people in the card markets before, and I have good contact with the guys at Steel City Collectibles, and I still want to do something with them. But help promote the world of My Slabs and however we can do it. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if Steel City would just because they compete with Wax a little bit. But if they're willing to like sacrifice Wax to maybe get on like blowout cards or these other forums, that could be an opportunity there.
So when I went to the Nationals, I met a couple guys from Steel City. The Rip and Gypsy people introduced me to them, and we talked and I got one of the guys' numbers and we messaged back and forth, and they're not too far from the racetrack. So if I can get them to the racetrack, I'm trying to put together some sort of deal. Like I was almost like, hey, I'll give you a spot for this weekend if you trade me a case of X product.
Leaf all sport.
Yeah.
Just something. No, I'm with you on that. No, there's I don't know. The market seems to be in a good place where it's like almost excuse me, stabilized.
Mm-hmm.
And there's opportunities to buy in the off season for some basketball players, some football players. Game use stuff comes around. There was a Reggie White patch auto that came out last week on eBay. I didn't get a chance to buy it because I bought a Aaron Donald Kaboom PSA 10 gold out of 10. So that kind of ruined my budget for that Reggie White. But if I find another one, that's definitely what I'm going to try to go for.
Yeah, there's a lot that I see that I really, really want. Any of the flawless greats. I saw Roger Staubach. That was really nice. Saw Terrell Davis, Larry Zonka. There's a sick Larry Zonka.
There's a ton of Larry Zonka out there.
Man, I hope they're doing anniversary G.I. Jane cards. Hey, as long as Logan Paul keeps, pulling G.I. Joe cards out of Pokemon boxes that have been.
Yep. G.I. Jane, G.I. Joe, they'll continue to go up.
I'll buy them. I'll buy them all day.
Yeah, just don't reference Will Smith's wife. He might come after you.
No, you're going to get the backhand. So, anything else you got to cover?
Nope. I think this is a good episode. Nice to get back. Let's do this. Next week, let's talk about post-draft. Who are our top 4? We'll go top 4 teams or division winners in the AFC and NFC.
That sounds like an episode to have Duchesne Bland joined us again.
Hey, if he's on, I'm more than happy to have him on. That would be nice. Nice to talk about.
Top 4 teams that won the draft, AFC and NFC.
Won the draft or top 4 teams in each conference going into the season now.
Okay, top 4 teams in each conference.
I like it.
All right. So, thank you to our sponsors as always, MySlabs, buy, sell all your slabbed cards, slabbed comic books, sealed wax, now all your raw cards for only up to 1% fees. Get off eBay. Quit paying those 12% fees. It's the web's premier marketplace for collectors and investors. Slab Savers, protectyourslabs.com. If you use code DREAM3, you're going to get 10% off your order. Protect those slabs, guys. Great cases they make. A bunch of great people over there. Graded Card Solutions, that's gradedship.com. If you use code DREAM15, you're going to get 15% off your order. Always want to ship your cards because you hate to refund stuff and you can never trust the post office. And Nation Golf. Our friends at Nation Golf had a great outing this past weekend. 50 years of Nation Golf. If you love the golden era of golf like we do, great polos, hats, go check them out at nationgolfco.com. So until next time, we're going to talk about the NFL or the AFC and NFC conferences, who we got the best. We'll call Duchesne Bland, see if he's got time. So until next time, we will catch you later.